Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Omnea, and you're listening to A Degree Further, the official podcast of the graduate school at Hood College. I'm speaking with alum Dr. Cheryl Dyson. Dr. Cheryl Dyson has worked in education for more than 20 years, and she began her career teaching before transitioning into administrative and staff development roles. Dr. Dyson has served as a director of family and community engagement, assistant principal, and other high-profile positions in the school system. And this past summer, you were appointed superintendent of Frederick County Public Schools. So, yay! And this is also the same. And then the 2021 was the year you graduated with your doctorate in organizational leadership from Hood College.
Yes.
So, describe how you felt when you found out you became the superintendent for Frederick County Public Schools.
Well, I was extremely excited. First of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Anything I can do to shout out to Hood, I absolutely will. They're good people there, and they're some of my favorites. So I was excited mostly because I look at the superintendent position as a higher level of service. And that kind of stewardship, servant leadership at this level is just really, really important. So I was excited to serve the students and the families and the staff of the Hood community. I learned a lot about Frederick through the my Hood College experience. And so I was just elated to get to that point, something that was a goal of mine, but for the reason of really serving at that higher level, being able to influence policy and practice, to work with a board to make every child a focus every single day.
And I will link below the articles from the Frederick County News Post and the Hood College Graduate School article. But I remember reading in the Frederick News Post that you are the first African-American female superintendent. And we've had numerous female superintendents, but the fact that there was a person of color, I know, is a very big deal for children and teachers and other administrators to see somebody like them in a high position like yours. I also read in the Frederick News Post that you were the associate area superintendent in Montgomery County schools before you came to become the superintendent for Frederick County Public Schools. So how was that transition for you from one county to the other?
They're alike in so many ways. And I think that's the wonderful thing about Maryland, whether they're large systems or small systems, there's certain things that every system has to do. I was fortunate enough to supervise about 70 schools in Montgomery County Public Schools. And if as I researched for Frederick for my interviewing process, literally you could almost overlay the 9 clusters that I oversaw and the population demographics of Frederick County Public Schools. So I feel like I had a good experience coming in with the types of schools that are in Frederick County Public Schools. And I was also the direct supervisor for Title I schools, early childhood. So the Maryland Blueprint, all of that kind of work I had experience doing in Montgomery County. So I really felt like all of my experiences in Montgomery County, from being a teacher to a district leader, all of those experiences really led me here. And I use every one of them. I say, and I've said this before, I remain in the posture of a student, I remain in the posture of a teacher and a principal. And doing so, helps me as I make decisions to think about each one of them. And so I think that's really, really important. And I started doing that as an associate superintendent in Montgomery County.
And as you said, you were in the role of student, then teacher, and you were also the associate superintendent of Montgomery County, and now that you are the superintendent of Frederick County Public Schools. So speaking of education, you received degrees from multiple institutions, and you've been in different learning environments. How did your doctoral training at Hood prepare you for this new role?
So the pillars, first of all, I would say I went to amazing schools here in Maryland, and each degree is in use as a superintendent. So my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctoral degree all play a vital role in how I lead day to day. And my experience at Hood was great because there were courses that really focused on not just leadership theories, but how do you apply that? So our assignments will really reflect a reflection of, great stewardship, sense of community. What's the application, the real world application for this theory? This systems thinking. So not just thinking about myopically about one group, but really challenging yourself to think about, if we make this decision, what are the unintended consequences? If we make it for students, what does it mean for a teacher in that classroom? What does it mean for the building leaders? What does it mean for us here at central office? So that kind of systems thinking and having organizational coherence. So that's a lot of what I'm learning now. How are we organized for success? What does that mean for operational excellence? Let's study that a little bit before we have to make decisions, right? So while we have the time, let's audit what we're asking schools to do and see how it fits into the priorities that we have for the system. One being that we want all of our students to be successful. So some of that deep reflection and introspection comes from all of the studies there, and then to think about how you use data to tell your story of your system. So all of those quantitative, qualitative classes weren't just about writing a dissertation or what methodology do you want to choose, but it was really about how do you use data to tell a story. And that's really what you have to do in your dissertation journey, is to figure out the story you want to tell, and then how do you tell that story? What's the research you want to pull from? And so those skills are not just about finishing a doctorate. It really is about and they always pressed us, the professors, how do you take that theory and apply it in your current work environment, either to make your environment better or to evaluate what's working and what's not working. The writing skills alone, to be cogent and concise when you're writing. So I think about that even as I speak to you.
Mm-hmm.
What is the point that I'm trying to make, and how do I make that point? Be more specific, more exact. So there are life lessons that I take from Hood and carry with me every day. So I'm so grateful. They made me a better person, not just a better learner. I'm a better person. I'm a better leader because of the things. And one last thing I want to say, that cohort model is everything.
Mm.
It's everything. Iron sharpens iron. And so to be in a class with people from multiple professions helps to challenge your perspective. It broadens your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates a thirst for more. How do I learn more about that? And I have lifelong friends now from that cohort, and we were a powerful cohort. So that model is just perfect. We pick each other up, we pick up the slack, and help each other to keep going.
And you have a great education from Hood and other institutions, and you have such experience from your tenure in education. So how do you plan to use that experience and that education to serve the students, teachers, and staff of Frederick County Public School?
So I was sharing earlier how my first degree, my bachelor's degree, is in communication studies.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all about relationships, and it's all about how you communicate with people. And that's what I do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that's been a good anchor for me to understand interpersonal communication, to honor people and their time.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps me. My master's degree is in curriculum and instruction from University of Maryland College Park with a teaching certificate. And so the thing about curriculum instruction is all about being analytical and thinking through things. So I try to model that for those around me, how I make decisions, what's the context and the why. And families and students want to know the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really just helps me. And having been in the classroom as a teacher, how do you organize what you're going to say for the different audiences. So I had to differentiate my instruction, right? I had flexible groups. And
Yeah.
so the same thing exists as a superintendent. I am talking to a politician. Yesterday morning I started my day with a politician. Today I started my day with a staff member, trying to talk through some of the processes that we have here. And so just understanding your audience is really, really important. And of course, my doctorate degree, I talked about that a lot. It's just being thoughtful, deliberate, intentional, stopping sometimes before I answer to really think about what people are asking me and what I want to say.
Mhm.
Thinking about the system as a whole, and then understanding its parts and how that system thinking helps to create organizational coherence. So I'm grateful, for all of the education, but education is no good if you cannot use it. Even if you're not in the content matter, the subject matter, the discipline that it takes to be a student is significant. And so, I think that's why society appreciates that so much, is because it does take extraordinary discipline to finish.
And it seems like, with your experience and the various degrees that you received, that they all kind of complement each other and help you in different ways as you embark on this new role as a superintendent. And what would you tell other aspiring school leaders or anybody listening if they're considering to apply to the Hood doctoral program?
Mhm. One, just sign up. Just sign up, trust yourself. But in doing so, think about your own professional goals. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? If you go into it to say, I just want to get a doctorate, it might be a little hard. So I always encourage people to reflect on their why. What do you want it for? It was a lifelong goal for me too, but marrying that with my profession, it was just really, really important to really deeply understand organizational development
Mm-hmm.
and organizational leadership, and to be able to understand my leadership moves better, to deepen my understanding about what it means to lead, not be in charge, but to lead. So that reflection is really important. And then have a conversation with your family,
Mm-hmm.
because the time that it takes for any doctoral program is tremendous, and you want your family support. You need it. If you have little children, you have to talk to your spouse about what that means in terms the sacrifice of time,
Mm-hmm.
and whether your family can afford that sacrifice of time. And of course, just thinking about how you will manage your life going forward. It is the best thing that I've done for myself, even if I didn't have this job. It is the best thing I've done for myself. I feel like I'm a better leader, better person. And I will say this, I have not seen any, I was in a cohort model for my master's degree and I loved the staff there, but I have not seen people support the way the staff in the DOL program support. And even outside, Dr. Marcella Gens, I mean, like I could have her on speed dial, email her, she emails me right back. But Dr. Kudapa, Dr. Bands, Dr. Manikoff, and Dr. Anita, forgetting her last name, they are all amazing. And they want success for you. And it doesn't mean that all their feedback is going to be easy to take. But what it means is they do it in a spirit of love and for your growth and for your own efficacy as a student. So they're just amazing people. They are every professor, the leader in residence. It just broadens your thinking and your perspective. So I can't say enough about it. It was the perfect program for me.
I want to thank everybody else for listening to A Degree Further, the official podcast of the graduate school at Hood College, where we help you go further in your life, in your career, and in your community.